Sometimes you got to sit in the filth till you've had enough of the stench and are motivated to do what it is you know you have to. It's a very interesting situation which can teach you a lot about yourself, this realm, and the nature of entropy as well, because that zone most people call comfort is actually a dis instead when you see the lay of the land as it stands. Walk with me. The game at this stage we're playing is all about oppression and triumph, the individual and the collective, big business and the mindless consumer. You get the image because on one side you have an immense array of forces with a stacked deck and various tricks, both over and underhanded, and a wealth of experience, resources, and everything else. And then there is you. It's quite easy to see why people acquiesce and then sell dreams to themselves about what they'll do once they find the right moment. That'll never happen, because such is the nature of the belief systems and coping mechanisms within that attempts to placate them into accepting the short end of the stick. The warrior, in effect, declares war on the substandard version of himself that is the end result of this process, and goes hell for leather to ascend, and thus, in those nascent steps, meets an immense amount of resistance that, like the surly bonds of gravity say to the rocket, "How dare you even attempt?" Before it's beyond its grip, and then all it takes is a little effort, and you're soaring without resistance. Think of that as the litmus test that was referenced by "many are called, but few choose themselves." Oh, that velvet-lined rut you know well, and the mind-made prison that built it, are filled with creature comforts designed to prevent that critical mass event that makes you throw up your hands as you click across to the get free or thrive trying perspective that was always an option, as this is the spark that powers the engine. Keep it going when all signals say the opposite. Now, that's the trick, because best believe a cold wind will whip and attempt to blow out the pilot light, which then plunges the rest into darkness. Inertia is a mean mistress and tempting seductress when it comes to cutting to the chase and claiming your rightful inheritance in a world filled with wrongs. I mean, ask yourself, why are you well adjusted to such obvious social sickness? Why do children step in with a glow of innocence that is swiftly adulterated and no one seems to question this? Why is the history of man nothing but violence and conflict, whilst most walking around the planet today may claim to be alive, but they certainly aren't living? Doesn't this sense of numbness make you wonder, or are such thoughts off limits in the realm of thunk that was programmed into your head back when, and you accept it as gospel? 12 years a slave, a decade and change since they almost tore me out the frame of the game, and yet none dare call it conspiracy. That's a shame. It really is. The strongest tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of his victim. If you don't realize this, then guess what? You're it. Not a human, just being, but doing as instructed instead. A beast of burden. Cattle, I believe they call it. They class you as soulless and treat you with a contempt that should be self-evident to anyone who looks around the planet and has convinced themselves they are free when every step brings expense. Every step but the ones within, that is. Why don't you know what the path of power is, or how to navigate your inner realms? Why do you know all and everything about some celeb or other such pointless things when you are almost entirely devoid of meaningful knowledge that makes a difference? Why? Because the programming is that effective. You were born into a realm within which a system of suppression had already been erected and were thrust into its arms by a set of parents who absolved themselves of responsibility of imparting the correct wisdom for your optimal development. Why did they do this? Ignorance. Just like their parents before them, and you'll do with your children if you choose not to listen to the knowledge I'm kicking. How much of your life have you actually critically examined and reasoned via the gifts of your intellect? Better yet, answer this question. If everything you know and accept is truly correct, verified, and functional as the best way of doing things, then your life, in all respects, physical, mental, sexual, spiritual, emotional, creative, and the rest of the equation, should be in alignment with things that make you grin, feel secure within, and able to communicate freely without editing, suppression, or repression. Well, is it? If not, then you may want to consider adopting the axiom, get free or thrive trying, because it's the only way to live. Your mind is behind enemy lines. Worse still, you think you are them as you have no knowledge yourself. What seems like heaven can be hell when examined in depth, and the truth of the matter is your soul depends on it, because what you do or do not realize in the flesh has immense implications for what comes next, both your lineage and personal adventure as well. Imagine for a moment you were sent on a trip. As you were lying in bed, just about to drift off, a well-wisher said, "Hey, heard you going. I'm going to place this credit card in your breast pocket. All the best, and feel free to spend, and take in all the experiences you can, as the funds are unlimited, so enjoy your adventuring." You rise the next day, feeling the buzz of anticipation. You vaguely recollect the message, but are so caught up in the experience and excitement, you rush off with your ticket. To get to your destination, you are aboard an immense cruise ship. It really is quite something. You eat the best foods, sip the finest drinks, take in the sights and ambience, and exclaim, "It's breathtaking," as you witness the experience. As you come close to your destination, the captain of the vessel hands you a bill. "What's this?" you said, as you take in the immense list that breaks down each and every expense you have accrued thus far on your trip. No. There must be some mistake. See, I want a ticket. It didn't say anything about having to pay for it." You argue until you're blue in the face, and then find your rights read instead as you are led to the brig. The next option is you can work off your debt, scrub the decks, prep the dishes, and generally be in the midst of people who are enjoying this trip whilst your development was arrested due to your own ignorance. The astute reading this will be saying, "But wait, what about that fantastic plastic that was slipped inside your chest for just such situations? Why not use this?" You have to know what you possess in order to be able to access it, and the initial whirlwind of the experience was designed to make you remember to forget your potential. Imagine the feelings when you finally make it to your destination after having nearly been worked to death and look within to find the card with no limits that was waiting all along for you to claim it. Who would be to blame in this situation? You or the crooked captain? If you said the latter, then there is no point in reading the rest of my content. You might as well leave now and tell everyone you know to avoid it as well. Why? Birds of a feather flock together, and you are the sum of your peers, and thus you will not be able to comprehend the simplicity or depth of what I'm sharing. If you click that you are entirely responsible for this outcome due to A, accepting what another said, B, believing your powerlessness, and C, not checking your options or finding out the sketch of what's truly happening, then congratulations. You may just have a warrior within that has been screaming for your attention from its suppression inside your subconscious. This is the event that will help you pull the splinter of your mind that has caused you constant irritation since you stepped into this adventure in the flesh that feels more like a life sentence. The path of power is waiting because the limitless bounty this metaphor says is actually called inner sense and dwells within your chest. This is who you are. This is what you once firmly possessed in a state I call centered in self. This is what was pushed to the edge, suppressed, repressed, edited, and filtered to create this limited form of consciousness that moves at the behest of the voice in your head that most think is them. Be realistic. How the hell can you be it when you are obviously that which listens to its incessant raving that is always entirely predictable, often designed to make you feel miserable, and has made you fear and dread things that never happened whilst remaining entirely oblivious to the signals that warned you then almost came and took off your head? That's the life of a slave, like I said. 81% of the planet. The programming is that effective. 11% know this because they are part of the problem and profit from the suffering, as the captain rewards them well for assisting his operations. 8% of us got on the boat, and instead of taking in all that was being offered and swimming in distractions, the first thing we noticed was that all of the staff looked miserable and stressed. How can this be heaven if they are obviously living in hell? We asked the question as we talked to people living lives indentured. They all said the same thing. At first it was great. An all-you-can-eat fun-filled adventure we thought was a prelude to the main showing the ticket offered. Little did we realize that we had to pay for it by spending the rest of our lives scrubbing the decks until they say we've cleared the debt, and are eligible for retirement. It seemed to stink. Something was off. This was the splinter of the mind I mentioned, and a lot of us have felt it when we were young, as the adulterated world made little sense. People seemed to have it all backwards, as they were intensely miserable, yet would go out of their way to deny this. Some of us kept this line of thinking and often butted heads with various limbs of the system that are designed to influence and lead you to making bad decisions. One of the most common things I clicked was that their inner realms were almost entirely verboten. Once you board the ship, they entice you with fine labels and clothing to adorn yourself with. Many, purely due to habit and the wish to impress and keep up with the Joneses, never even looked inside themselves and thus missed their true gift, their true inheritance, as they choose to sip from the poisoned chalice instead. Just think, one of these people could say to the captain as he steps off the ship, "Here's my card, keep it. Charge all of the expenses, both real and examined, for this trip as well as the rest of the people both seemingly free and in debt, and anyone else cursed enough to set foot on this corrupt vessel that is helmed with an evil intent to exploit the ignorance they themselves instill, then punish them for it. As I have said, so it is." That is the get free or thrive trying mindset. You are infinite. You are far more powerful than you have been led to believe, because your worth is more than gold, but only if you can feel the present moment directly and thoroughly. That truly is the key. Coherence. Freedom is an inside job. I know this well because they raped my awareness when I first developed free will, and for the past decade and change, I've been reverse engineering their tricks, and can say, with confidence, I have the keys to the matrix, and I gladly offer them to anyone who seeks workable actions that generate more internal freedom in this realm of tyranny where ignorance reigns supreme. Death is the ultimate illusion. You are without beginning or end, not of, but in this realm, hence infinite, as you are not the symbol, but that which is in motion. Once this clicks, the familiar edict of "sit still, look ahead" will render obvious exactly how and when you are disconnected from your chest and abdomen. 2/3 of your energetics I call the three kingdoms, aka the unlimited card awaiting your claim of it. And this is the intent of the path of power. Reconnection, resonance. Remember who you aren't and then transcend it to discover how they tricked your soul into becoming your ego's glove puppet, and then it's on. Because it's a straight line in Tetris moment as this lifelong blockage melts behind your eyelids and you suddenly find yourself back in alignment with inner sense. I speak of where I've been, both ends of the scale, and the middle point is balance, ergo the path is super thin. Many are called, but only the ones who choose themselves shall taste freedom in the flesh, whilst the rest meekly wait and inherit the earth, promised as their corpses lowered into it after a lifetime of false promises. Sadly for them, this isn't even the end of their oppression, but a new beginning, where they get more of what they expected due to never stopping to unwrap the gift of the present moment. Gnosis is the key. Do you know thyself? You get back after your trip. The well-wisher comes and greets you and asks you how it went. You tell him about the captain and his tricks that turn the trippers to captives and how so few actually get to live the life they wanted. He asks about the card and you reply, "I left it on the ship and told him to clear everyone's debts, past, present, and future as well." The well-wisher starts laughing. He says, "I bet he didn't like that, not one bit." See, they found a loophole and exploited it. It all works on ignorance. It's why I send everyone that leaves on the trip with a card of inner sense in their chest, because it's the antidote to his scheme. But so few realize this. Their aim was to capture the theme park for themselves via the deceptive work and tricks you witnessed, as they are in the business of profiting from ignorance. It's all a question of wavelength and resonance. Proportions are everything. And as long as people tacitly accept the hand being dealt from a rigged deck, then it will be as it is. This is the exact reason we mentioned that people perish due to a lack of knowledge and that the kingdom is within. This isn't religious. It's quite literally the way it is. And if you've had enough of kneeling at the feet of midgets when you're truly a giant yourself that has been tricked into accepting less, scrubbing the decks, and watching everyone else enjoy themselves, then what do you have to lose by choosing to live with the intent of get free or thrive trying? The game of souls has you, my friend. If you are still reading this, it's because you realize this and have probably spent more than enough of your life absorbing all of the information about this trip, the ship, the promised heaven versus the actual hell, and the things that turned this experience into a life sentence on a planet where you have 64 strands and carbon wrapped around your awareness. Even after all of this, I'd be willing to bet you've made little progress, and that is where Will Help Me does what it says on the tin, because I've been to the heights, sank to the depths, and found the path of power in the mid, along with the practical insights and experiences needed to manifest the wisdom of knowing the ledge that allows you to whip out the card, unlimited, reclaim your inner sense, and make it a better trip for others as well as yourself, because we are not of this realm, just visiting. But there are those who can't exit and have made it their mission to reign in hell instead. The battle is as old as it is eternal, and call them what you wish. To me, they are the slave masters, aka the opponent, and he, long ago, made his bed in the heads of most of the planet who hate their lives but haven't been pushed enough to do something about it by looking within and discovering the resources they'd forgotten they possessed as they lived the life adulterated. Get free or thrive trying. You in? Till we meet again.